Yeah, yeah. Turn me up a little bit. Turn it up. Turn it up. A little bit on the volume. A little bit more high end. Get a little bit of high end. One, two, 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 two. A little bit more on the volume. One, two, two, two. All right. How y'all feeling? For those who don't know, my name is Razhel. Some people know me from the legendary Roots crew out of Philadelphia, but I am from New York. Okay. All right. I grew up in Queens. Um, I'm a relative of Raheem from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. So as a kid, I had a bird's eye view of this genre called hip hop and had no idea that this thing was going to be as huge as it is today. Um, what I do is called the Beatbox. Small device introduced by Grandmaster Flash, which is actually a drum machine. So as all kids, we imitate, we mimic, just kids being kids. And I just happen to take such a fond likeness to this little drum machine called the beatbox, which the coined phrase "the human beatbox" by Dougie Fresh and Chill Will and Barry B from the Get Fresh crew. If you don't know, Google's available. You can Google it. It's receipts. Um, this is my fascination with technology. We're talking in the 80s. We didn't call it technology. It was like just what this device is that's making this sound like a drummer. So my fascination just grew and grew. I had a mentor. His name was Paul McCasty, early producer. And during this time in the early 80s, it was just a brand new wave called the human beatbox crave. Anybody heard of Fat Boys? Fat Boys? Anybody heard of Biz Markie? Okay, we lost those two. Anybody heard of Dougie Fresh? Right? So you're getting a treat today because me and Dougie Fresh are the only living ones from that era. I mean, there's others, but more relevant that you would know by name. We're the two living descendants of that era called the beatbox. Growing up, and having this mentor, Paul C, he always gave me tasks. He always gave me homework to go study different records, to study different beats. And I would come back. He would like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. I was getting frustrated and frustrated. I really didn't understand his plan because I would sound like the relevant at the time beatboxers, which frustrated him. You sound like so-and-so, or you sound like this person. I need you to sound like the exact instrument. Didn't know what he was talking about. He would have me go home. Here go a sample of snares. So what I need you to do, I need you to just listen to the sound of a snare and try your best to duplicate a snare. Try your best to duplicate a kick drum. Try your best to duplicate the hi-hat. Try your best to duplicate the bass line. So this tedious thing that he was having me do every single day paid off in the long run, but at that time I was like, I can't do this anymore because this is crazy. So I'm gonna give you an example of these techniques that I've learned from my mentor, Paul C. Right? right? He used to also give me a whole bunch of records, right? He had this secret record collection, and he would like, listen, take these records and go home and study. So I would go through these records. There would be records from Al Jarreau, records from a younger Bobby McFerrin, records from George Benson, records from Cuba. Cuba, there's this group called Vocal Sampling. I mean, there's so many different records he would give me, and he was like, "I want you to try to take apart the composition and put the composition back together, but vocally." All right, so I came up with a technique where you would hear a song, you would know the lyrics, you would know the melody. I was like, how can I take the melody and the lyrics and the beat and put them all together? Took me a minute to figure it out. Because you can sing, everyone sings in the shower. Everyone does that, right? Pretty cool acoustics. All right? So how do you take the melody, choruses, the beat, and kind of infuse them? The human voice. How can we do that? So this is all by accident. At the time, I knew nothing about phonetics, but I was actually using it because I'm like, okay, if we take the alphabet, every letter in the alphabet has a sound. But how do we make those sounds work? It's like language. If you speak German, or you speak Italian, or if you speak Spanish, it has a certain, ambiance, or it has a certain like roll of the tongue. You have to put those things together. So beatboxing is something similar to that because you have to take these different instrument sounds and you have to put it with words. So in that time, R&B and soul was like the music that we would hear every day. So there was this one song called Sally. I don't know if you ever heard this song. It's like, some people like the way Sally walk. Old song record, right? Some people like the way Sally walk. One, two, three. Some people like the way Sally walk. So I'm like, okay. Some people like the way Sally walk. People like the way Sally walk. People like the way Sally walk. Some people like the way Sally walk. Let me break it down. Let me slow it down, right? Some people like the way Sally walk. Some people like the way Sally walk. So I figured out a way how to take the melody, the words, and drop it in between the beats. You get it? I mean, and I've come up with other ideas after that, but that was just one thing that these records that I was listening to, I was like, okay, how do I duplicate these records with no other type of device but my voice? So I'm like, okay, I got the Sally thing down. So time went on and music changed and, evolved and, electronics come in. And, I've always been a big kid. I'm still a big kid. Watched tons of cartoons, tons of kung fu movies. tons of movies in general, but which I've learned from. Anybody heard of Michael Winslow? Super genius. Guy, the guy does Jimi Hendrix, like, spot on. Another mentor of mine, which I totally looked up to him, and how he was in Police Academy and he did all these cool sounds, and I'm like, holy cow, like, that's my guy. I'm going to Hollywood. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. But I understood that, God had his own plans for me, and it's good to be inspired by others, but you have to create your own lane. So I always say there's a kind of a trifecta with hip hop, jazz, and animation. So I looked at Bobby McFerrin, Michael Winslow, Bad Boys, Dougie Fresh, Biz Markie was the trifecta, like the blueprint to kind of like moving this new genre of hip hop, because you had breakdancing, you had graffiti, you had DJing, and you had, what's the other one? Anybody? The MC. So now we have this new art form called the beatbox, which has been around forever. I mean, you had doo-wop, where you had groups that kind of like mimicked instruments, the bass line and the quartet. So it's always been around. I mean, for years. We can go back to Africa, but that's a whole nother section. So putting these things together, I kind of created my own particular sound, because I meshed everything together. I'm gonna give you an example of what I meshed together. Let's go. There we go. Please enter your passcode. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Optimus Prime. Ladies and gentlemen, my name, my name, my name, my name, my name, Razhel, Razhel. Thank you for your cooperation.